Welcome back to the Craftsman's Collective, a podcast designed to help makers in the concrete, wood, and steel industries improve their businesses and lives by discussing our common struggles, tips we found along the way, and how we can combine our unique perspectives to create even more spectacular pieces. I'm doing things a little bit different this time. It's a little bit, I guess we would call it a mini-series. Let's call it the most amazing things that I've ever found that have been great for me ever in the history of ever. Subtitle, leaving out all the stupid shit that doesn't actually help. P.S. For me. Now, apparently you have to put a disclaimer in of some sorts for some of these categories along the lines of if you're overweight and you need to lose some weight and some of these things may affect you adversely, check with a physician or healthcare professional or any of the other stuff. If you decide to try some of these things, you're doing so at your own risk. I am not a health provider, practitioner, or any of the other things that people usually have in those disclaimers. These are just things that have helped me. And if you decide to do some of them, do so smartly, I guess. Despite the name of the mini-series, I didn't want to have anybody have an exaggerated viewpoint of any of these things on the impact that they would have for them. So I wanted to keep it as baseline neutral as possible. If you decide to try any of these things, I really hope they had as much of an impact for you as they did for me. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, on to the next category of health, and the subcategory for this is sleep. I do not subscribe to the school of thought where you work 1,000 hours a week and that's beneficial. I've gotten to see in close proximity the difference between having a very good, solid sleep schedule and being very smart about how you work and just going just crazy, like 24-hour days, 36-hour days, going on 3, 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep a night. I'm not saying that some people can't do that for a certain period of time or that those people are bad or anything like that. All I'm saying is that the research does not suggest that people can do that and maintain a good quality of life or a high standard of living. People can take that for what they want, but I would highly recommend just try it. Go 2 weeks, 3 weeks with some really good quality sleep consistently and see if you can see a difference. I would be surprised if you did not see a notable improvement in almost every area of your life. So something that has been helpful in this category, but I'm going to talk about it in more detail later, is the hot shower meditation. So the things that have helped the most with sleep are putting dimmers on lights. This sounds maybe a little trivial, but we try and turn as many overhead lights off as possible. That has to do with the receptors that are in the bottom of your eyes. Because the sun is typically above you, those receptors tell you it's daytime, it's time to be awake. So if you turn those lights off, those receptors aren't getting that signal that it's time to be awake. The dimmers help because if you were outside, it'd be starting to get dark, obviously. But we've put switches in the walls in all of the main living areas, in our living room, in the kitchen, in our bedroom, in our bathroom. All of those light switches that are primary light switches that will be on have a dimmer on them. All of the lamps that we use that are on in the evening times all have dimmer, these little cord, you plug part of it into the wall and then you plug the lamp into that plug, and then there's like a little toggle that you can dim the lights. We have those. I think we've got 4 or 5 of them. We use those every single day, every single night. They are amazing. Like I mentioned earlier, gut smashing. This is a really weird sounding thing. I will put a link to a video in the show notes because I don't really know how to explain it that well. The reason it's very helpful is most of us, at least in Western cultures, walk around with our stomach sucked in virtually all day, trying to look skinnier, more appealing, that type of thing. That builds up a lot of stress and tension basically in your core all day long for years and years and years and years and years. So what this does is you basically lay on like a lacrosse size ball or maybe a softball or something like that. Actually, I don't know if it's a lacrosse ball. You lay on like a softball of some kind, like a big ball. They make a specific ball for it. I don't know it's worth the cost, but you lay on that and it basically smashes it smashes your core, and it is while you're doing it very uncomfortable. But it forces you to breathe and relax and let go of that tension. This was one thing that was very surprising to me, that how beneficial it was. I forget to do it quite often, but when I do remember to do it, you can just feel the release of that tension pretty much immediately right after doing it. Next is, I don't do any emails, social media, screens of any kind 2 hours before bed. One of the recommendations is you can go to up to 1 hour before bed, but I just do it 2 hours because there's not really any point. I do deviate from this from time to time if Melanie and I are going to watch a movie or something together at night. But that might happen once a week. Like I rarely deviate from this. These things helped a lot, but they're more in the mental section, which is coming next. So something that was helpful for sleep is no email after noon to 2 p.m.-ish. Again, I'll talk about that later. And then no social after 4:30 or 5. The exception to this is my personal Instagram account, and I'll talk about more on that later. The resource for this one is a book called Why We Sleep by Dr. Matt Walker. Amazing book. It goes into a lot of detail as far as how everything works with sleep, why it works the way that it does, and then several different recommendations on how to accomplish that. You can also check out all sorts of different podcasts. Matt Walker's been on several. He's been on with Tim Ferriss here recently. Really, really good resource. I would highly recommend looking into that if you are interested in increasing the quality of your sleep. I'd love to hear if there is anything that has been exponentially more helpful to you than, say, other things, whether it's a traditional advice or something that's a little bit more obscure. Doing that in the YouTube comments or in the forums on Facebook or messaging me directly would be really, really appreciated. I'm always looking for new ways to improve, and I think doing this together is probably the best way to do that. If one of the books or resources mentioned in the episode would be beneficial to you or someone that you know, and you would like to support this channel, using the affiliate links in the description would be incredibly helpful. Thanks to everyone who listened all the way through. I hope you found something that was beneficial, and I'll look forward to hearing from you in the next episode. Later.